Hello everyone. My name is Anusha and I'm working as Technical Support Analyst for Trackit product. I welcome you all to this webinar where we will be exploring key features of Asset Management and Software License Management module. Now here is the agenda for today's session. We will first understand what Asset Management module and Software License Management module is. We will see all the features we have in Asset Management module such as network discovery, auditing, remote control, and lot more. Next, I'll talk about detailed integration between BMC Client Management and Trackit application and what role BMC Client Management plays in managing inventory in Trackit, what are the different ways to integrate both applications, how this integration works, configurations, and the troubleshootings. We will then learn how to configure and use all the important modules in Asset Management and Software License Management along with a demo. Now, Asset Management module can also be accessed by Trackit mobile application. So last, we will see different options we have in Trackit mobile application to import assets in Trackit. Here's the overview of Asset Management module. The primary feature of Asset Management are network discovery, audit, and remote control of assets. Network discovery is something where Trackit application scans all the assets within given domain or network or given set of IP addresses and adds them to Trackit. Whereas auditing an asset means Trackit application installs an agent in each device it is asked to audit, and now this agent looks for all the hardware and software information that specific asset has and imports the information to Trackit. Remote control, as the name says, is one of the very useful features used to take a remote control, just as Zoom or WebEx or any other applications through Trackit. Now the important point here to note is, all this inventory management is done by Trackit, but with the help of BMC Client Management. BMC Client Management is a different product of BMC. So basically, BMC Client Management is responsible for doing all the inventory management. Let's understand more about this. As we already learned, BMC Client Management is responsible for all the inventory tasks, and hence, these two applications needs an integration. So say for example, we ask Trackit to run network discovery to scan assets within specific range of IP addresses. Trackit will accept this request and internally ask BMC Client Management to perform the task. BCM will run network discovery, get all the list of discovered assets to BCM database, and then synchronize these assets from BCM to Trackit. This integration also means that both applications will have two separate databases, and hence, when any task is first completed by BMC Client Management, this information will be saved in the BCM database, and then by running asset synchronization, all this imported information gets copied from BCM database to Trackit database. Let's learn more about asset synchronization and network discovery. Now, as I explained earlier about network discovery, Trackit gives us an option to schedule this network discovery to run at specific time of a day or a week or month. This feature gives us a relief of not manually running network discovery each time we wish to discover assets. We do have few more options under scheduled network discovery. We will talk about it later in upcoming slides. Asset synchronization is something that synchronizes or copies all the information from BCM to Trackit. We can also schedule asset synchronization to run at specific time of a day. Total number of assets to be discovered or synchronized should always be considered before setting frequency of scheduling for both network discovery and asset synchronization. If there are large number of assets that needs to be discovered, then a better choice will be schedule network discovery to run twice a week instead of daily. Now, like any other module in Trackit, we have dashboard and different system views for this module as well. We have all audited assets view, all retired assets view, all assets, all active assets view, and many more. This module as well has an options to customize views depending upon types or any other fields, and also mark these views public or private. Trackit also has an inbuilt reports for asset management module. Some of the important reports we have are all audited software by manufacturer report that gives us the list of all the audited software information grouped according to the manufacturer. Then we have the BCM asset hardware report that has all BCM asset hardware information. Equipment by maintenance expiration report that gives list of asset equipment grouping according to the maintenance expiration date, and few more. We also have an option to print these reports in PDF format or export these reports in either CSV or the HTML format. Please note that system reports cannot be customized, and hence you will need to create a copy of the system report and then go ahead with the customization. Now, in order to establish a connection between Tracket and BMC client management, we must make sure that the BMC client management master server is configured. To accomplish this, we need to have BCM installed on either same server as Tracket server or a separate server. There are two ways you can choose to install BCM. You can go with automatic installation and configuration of BCM or manual installation and configuration. In automatic installation, Tracket installer gives an option as shown in screenshot to install BCM. Checking the box to install BMC client management for asset management shall install BCM and also configure it automatically. This way, there is no need for us to externally install and configure BCM. In manual installation, there will be a need to install BMC client management separately. You then need to manually configure BCM and Tracket and the asset management configurations, BMC client management configurations, to establish connection between BCM and Tracket. Finally, you will need to enable integration between BCM and Tracket. There are two ways you can enable integration between BCM and Tracket. First, using BCM configuration XML file, and second, using BCM OOB XML import.exe utility. You can use any one of these ways to integrate BCM with Tracket. Please note that each Tracket release supports a specific client management version only. BMC recommends not to use any version of client management that is not compatible with Tracket release. Using a newer version of client management that is not officially supported by respective Tracket releases might cause portion of the system to stop working and can potentially result in complete loss of functionality in certain areas, which might not be easily recoverable. Asset management configuration. Using BMC client management, Tracket discovers and manages assets in your network. Hence, it is mandatory for us to first establish a connection with BMC client management. The process to set up BCM is same as we discussed earlier for manual or automatic installation. It is mandatory to first apply the BCM license file so that Tracket can be authorized to use the BMC client management services that discovers, synchronizes, and audit assets. You can either apply the license file manually or from the BCM console. Now, to enable Tracket to perform an audit or access the assets remotely, it is must to define the account credentials to deploy BCM agent. When an audit request or a request to remotely control is sent to an asset, Tracket checks whether an agent is already installed or not. If an agent is not installed, a BCM agent is installed on that asset. At a given time, only one agent can be installed on an asset. Based on how you have classified your assets, you can configure multiple credentials to deploy agents. For example, if you have classified your assets based on environment, you can define different credentials to deploy agents on assets in Windows and Linux environments. You can also choose to deploy an agent automatically on the asset once the asset is discovered. To discover assets, you must select the device types that must be scanned, define the target network, and schedule the time for discovery. Discovery can be with agent install or agentless. An agentless discovery of assets only fetches the basic hardware and software information about the asset. To get detailed asset information such as detailed hardware, software, security, and financial information, you must choose to discover and audit assets by rolling out the BCM agent. We next have asset synchronization as a subpart of it. It is used to define a schedule to synchronize the discovered assets from BCM. Now there are two types of assets, managed and unmanaged assets. Managed assets are the ones which are connected to the network or have the BCM agent installed, whereas non-managed assets are the assets which are never connected to the network or do not have the BCM agent installed. All managed assets have one unique identifier. This unique identifier is a combination of multiple assets fields and is used to uniquely identify the managed assets while synchronizing them. Unmanaged assets do not have a unique identifier like managed assets. Trackit enables you to define network for assets. You can use the network lookup field to customize the asset form. For example, you may want to add a lookup field that allows users to choose a preferred network to discover assets. You can also classify the assets in your environment by defining a type. The Asset Types module enables you to create a hierarchy of asset types for your organization. When defining your asset types into a hierarchy, you should first define general asset types and then define the asset types that can be classified under them. Trackit allows you to create customized forms to suit the business requirements for groups in your organization. Form customization helps you change the look and feel of the form by allowing you to add or remove various form objects and set their properties. Let's have a demo of asset management configuration. In this, we will see how to manage permissions for asset module, configure BMC client management, and different ways to launch BCM. We'll also see configuring network discovery and asset synchronization. Now we'll see how to manage permissions for the asset module. For that, we'll first go to the technicians lookup table, select any of the technicians from the list, technician permissions. Now here you will see under groups, you will have the list of groups to select. From any of the groups listed here, you can select the group you wish to assign the permissions. Okay, so now here you will see these two options. If you want the specific technician to perform an audit, if you wish to give the audit permissions, you can just check the respective box, and then if you wish for him to give the remote control access, you can check this box. Next, in the advanced permissions, you can give the respective permissions for the asset module. The view permissions will let the technician only view the assets. The create permission will allow him to create the assets. Edit permission will give him the access to perform an audit as well as the remote control, and then deleting the asset. You need to then save the changes. Now these changes will be applicable the next time the technician will log in. Alternatively, if you wish to assign the similar permissions for the set of groups, you can just come here in the groups section and can select any of the group from here. Just go to the drop down group permissions, and now from here you can give the permissions to the group instead of the specific technicians. The similar options are available here as well for the permissions as well as in the advanced permissions. Let's take a look at each of the configuration options we have under asset management module. The first one is the BMC client management configuration. Here you will see there are two settings, the server settings and the database settings. Just need to make sure that we enter the right server name, HTTP port, username and the password, and the most important, the trace connection for all those are successful. Similar goes for the database settings. Make sure you enter the right database as well as the instance name in case it is applicable. Enter the right database name, username and the password, and also make sure the test connection here as well is successful. You then need to save the changes. Now here you can see you have an option to open the BMC client management. Basically, Trackit gives us two options to launch the BMC client management console. The first one being the web console. Let me click on it. So this will give you access to the BCM console once you enter the credentials, username and password. And then the second one is the standard console where a file will be downloaded. And then you can just run this file. So basically when you run this file, it does not ask you to enter the login credentials. It directly takes the username and the credentials from the client management server settings. The next we have is asset synchronization. So now here you will find multiple options. You have two options to either set an asset owner or you do not set an asset owner. Next is the manual sync. If you wish to immediately sync any of the asset or any of the newly added asset in client management, you can just come into the asset synchronization option and just run the asset sync. This will show the last successful sync date and time. Then we have the sync schedule. You can just enable the asset synchronization to run automatically at specific time of a day. And then in the last section, you will be given a brief of when was the last time the synchronization was successfully performed, the number of newly discovered assets that were updated since the last sync. Let's look at the network discovery. Edit configurations. Now here you will see an options to add the credentials for the respective device types you are going to run the discovery on. It is mandatory to add the credential for each of the device types you are going to discover. Make sure you also check the boxes for each of the device types. Then comes the section for the target list. Here you can add the range of IP addresses you wish to discover. In case you have two or more range of IP addresses you wish to discover, you can just keep on adding those ranges separated by a comma. And then if you have any of the IP address you do not want Trackit to discover, then you can just add the list of those assets under the excluded members. Next is the device scheduler. Here again we have three options to select. The first, mandatorily you need to check the box to enable the scheduler, and then depending upon daily, weekly and monthly, you can set up the scheduler. You can set up the scheduler to run daily at a specific time or weekly depending upon the days you wish it to run, and then monthly, at what time of a month, what day or what date you wish to run. You can set it accordingly. Then we will go towards the next module, that is the agent configuration. Again, mandatorily you will need to add the credentials here so that Trackit gets the permissions to install the audit agent on the respective devices. Here you have an option to either automatically install agent on the discovered devices, or if you do not want to automatically install agent on the discovered devices. One thing you need to remember is, if you check this box, the number of audit agent licenses you have will be utilized during each agent installation. Going back, then we have last is the asset type. Now depending upon the hierarchy of the asset types you have, you can keep on adding here the asset types as well as the sub asset types. The asset module in the Trackit mobile app enables you to create or scan assets and assign them to owners. When you first use the scan asset feature of the mobile app, your mobile device will automatically register to an available barcode license. After registration, you can use the scan asset feature with your mobile device for as long as you desire. After you create an asset in Trackit mobile application, the asset is updated in the BMC client management database. When you synchronize the assets, BMC client management updates the asset details in Trackit. It is important to have view, create and edit permissions to use the asset module in the mobile app. When you create a new asset using the camera of your mobile device, it will automatically populate the asset tag and serial number fields. If at any time you want to unregister and retire the mobile device from utilizing the scan asset feature, you can release and retire any registered mobile device from its barcode license by unregistering it. If you unregister a barcode license from a mobile device, you cannot register that mobile device for barcode licenses later. Creating and managing assets. The asset management module in Trackit enables you to create and manage assets and assign them to ticket or assignments. As a technician, even if you do not have view permissions for an asset, you can still link an asset to a ticket or assignment. Once you create an asset in Trackit, the asset is updated in the BCM database. When you synchronize the asset, BCM updates the asset details in Trackit. Now you can create, copy, print, and delete the asset record. You can assign an owner, that is the requester for an asset, add financial information about the asset such as the vendor details, purchase details, expiration date, and so on. Then, as we discussed earlier, we can discover, audit, and retire an asset. If an asset is retired, it can neither be discovered again during asset discovery, nor it can be tracked or audited by Trackit. We can usually consider retiring an asset if it is not required to be managed in future. Next is remote control. The primary thing we need to consider before remote controlling any asset is to ensure that the specific asset is already discovered in Trackit. Also, we need to be sure that the browser used to establish remote control session has BMC Client Management as a trusted certificate authority. Now, Trackit has an option to remote control Windows machines, Mac machines, except Linux machines. Trackit has an option to remote control an asset from the asset management dashboard, the asset form, ticket form, or the assignment forms. The point to note here is that if you retire an asset, you cannot audit or remotely control any asset. You can view all the asset details such as tickets or assignments associated with an asset in the Details section. The lower panel of the asset form that contains the tickets, assignments, and the asset relation tab is referred to as the Details section. We also have an option to view detailed preview of the selected asset in the Inventory Grid view. And the last is importing assets using the CSV file. Now, Trackit also has an option to import assets using the CSV file, but this needs to be done again through the BMC Client Management. Basically, we need to prepare an Excel sheet and add details of the assets column-wise, and then log into the Client Management and import this file under the device groups. Once these assets are added to the Client Management, synchronizing assets shall add these assets to Trackit. We also have a detailed article explaining the same. Let me show you demo of some of the asset features. Now, once we log into the Trackit application and go to the asset module, asset management module, you will see the list of all the assets here. I'll quickly open one of the assets and just walk you through all the options we have here. So basically, you can run an audit on an asset right inside the asset itself. Then we have the view asset detail option here. If you click on the view asset detail options, you will see the list of information audit agent has imported for you. This is the hardware information. If I minimize the tab, and then you will have the software information. And then the security and the financial asset management and all the other information likewise. We then have an option here to remote control the specific asset. Then we can also retire the specific asset. Please know that if you retire the specific asset, you will no longer be able to run an audit on that specific device. Then we can create a new ticket linked to this asset. And then we have the copy asset option, print option, print this record option, clear the form, and the delete option. Printing this asset will open the print report we have in the reports module. So here you will have the report created. This is nothing but the print report we had inside the reports module. We can do the same functionality from the grid view as well. If I go into asset management again, now you can have the same options in the grid view as well. Once you come here, you have an option here to run an audit now, remote control specific asset, see the asset details as well as retiring an asset. You can then also go ahead and create a copy of the asset or delete the asset from the grid view. For all the assets which you run an audit successfully, you will always see an icon into the taskbar in blue color that says the agent is running. Now let's have an overview of software license management. What is software license management? This module enables you to manage software license usage and compliance within your organization. You can synchronize the software title as well as the software license is created or modified in BCM to track it. If this software title is already present in Trackit, then it appends the information, else it creates a new software title. You can also synchronize assets to software title in Trackit. Next is software license workspace grid features. Now, like any other module, like the one we discussed in asset management, we also have the workspace grid view for this module, where you can manage your software title and perform various actions. You can customize view to be private or public depending upon different fields. Then you also have reports for this module similar to we had for the asset management module. We have expiring licenses by software title report that gives list of licenses expiring in next n number of days. Then we have overutilized software titles report that gives list of software titles having overutilized licenses linked to them. And we also have unauthorized assets by software title report that lists all the unauthorized assets. Let's take a look at configuring software license management. You can create software licenses types which you can use in the software licenses module. You can use them to identify software title as enterprise, site, or any user-defined descriptions. Publishers. Software publishers are used in the software license module to identify the manufacturers of the software titles that you are tracking. The publishers are displayed as an option when you create new software title in the software license module and as a column in the software grid view. You can use license sources to define information about software licenses such as vendor or any other user-defined descriptions. Creating and managing software titles. Trackit can be used to maintain a record of software titles. This record consists of unique identification of audited software owned by your organization. The list of all the detected software on audited assets is displayed in the software license module in Trackit. When a software title is created, it is assigned the Trackit device group by default in BCM. This facilitates the linking of assets and licenses to the software title on synchronization. If you try to update a software title that has been deleted from BCM, an error message is generated and the error is entered into the log file. When you retire the software title, all the software licenses linked to the software title are retired and the license consumption metrics are updated. Now please note here, once the software title is retired, you cannot link new software licenses to this title and also cannot link or unlink applications from this retired software title. If the software title is unretired again, then you can link new software licenses to this software title and also link or unlink applications from this software title. You can also link products and applications to the software title. You can view this linked products and applications in the linked application section in the software title form. The unlink option is disabled if no products or applications are selected or when there are no applications listed in the linked application section. Then we have an option to authorize or unauthorize assets linked to application in the software title form. This is used to determine the compliance status of your assets for a particular software title. An asset is considered compliant when it is authorized for a particular software title installed in it. You can also use Trackit to link software licenses to software title. You can view software license linked to a software title in the licenses section in the software title form. And the last, we can also add or delete attachments from the software licenses. Let's have a look at few common errors related to asset management module. The first one is asset data sync failed. The primary reason for this error is BCM not configured correctly. Here we need to check if database name entered is correct or if database or BCM user is not locked out. Although there could be different root causes for this error depending upon specific environments, majorly this issue is experienced if Trackit infrastructure service or BMC client management service is stopped or stuck. Restarting the services will normally fix the issue. The second most common issue is could not connect to BMC client management database. Verify the connection settings and try again. We might experience this issue while configuring BCM. Some users also experience similar error while running migration from 11.4 to Trackit 2020 versions, but the root cause could be same. In this case, check if database name is correct. Check if BCM database is installed on any of the instances. In that case, both database name and instance name needs to be added. Also, we need to be sure if BCM database user BCMDB user is not locked out and status is enabled. Log into BCM console and verify the credentials entered under application sections are correct and that specific account is not locked out. If above both points are correct, then there could be higher possibility that integration has failed. In that case, please redo the integration using any of the two methods we talked earlier. Lastly, there could be a version mismatch between the BCM and Trackit. It is mandatory to only go with version that is supported and officially documented, because these versions are internally tested. Here is a list of all the versions of BCM and respective Trackit versions compatible with it. As you can see, with Trackit release 2024 R1, that is our latest release, we now support BCM 24.1.00. There are few important points we need to remember when it comes to asset management module. The port BCM uses to communicate is 1611. So we need to be sure this port is never blocked by Windows Firewall or antivirus on either Trackit server or BCM server. Next, it is important to note that BCM does not support TLS 1.2. If you want to configure BCM with a TLS 1.2 enabled SQL Server, then we have BCM article explaining few simple steps to accomplish this. Always make sure Trackit and BCM server operating system, language and time zone configured are same. Any discrepancies here might lead to failed asset sync, as Trackit database might find different data formats etc. in the BCM database and hence could not verify asset details and fail. Same goes for all the other information that gets synchronized to Trackit from BCM. If you come across any complex issues relating to asset management or software license management, please feel free to send all the Trackit logs located at given location on application server. We will need application logs as well as the database logs to find any issues with data transfer. Also, we will need BCM logs from master and client folder on BCM application server. This will help us find error details specific to master server and client and will be helpful for our investigation. So here is a summary of all we talked about in this session. We talked about asset management, audit, network discovery, remote control, how to configure them. We showed you a quick demo as well. We went through details of Trackit and BCM integration, different ways to install BCM, different ways to integrate BCM, BCM supported versions, and its troubleshootings. We also looked in detail with software licensing module, how to link and unlink products and software licenses. We looked at how assets can be added to Trackit using mobile application scanner features. We walked through some important tips of both the modules. So as promised, here are the links to resources I mentioned throughout this webinar. These resources will help you find the details you need to be successful. I hope today's session was helpful. Please don't forget to subscribe to find many more useful videos.